Welcome to the Morning Report, a production of FightBackMedia.com, the number one source of urban conservative information in America.
Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. I trust that you are well today. It is Monday. It is October 28th. Just about a week to go, and we can stop seeing all the commercials. Let's do a quick update. Vote no. If you're in Florida, vote no on all the amendments, especially 3 and 4. How about that? If you're in the Tampa Bay area or in Hillsborough County, vote no on all of the millage increases. Frankly, the school board has $1 billion. There needs to be reallocation before you just start tossing money like coal into the, into the thing on the train where you just toss the money in because it's not good. There isn't a plan. As a matter of fact, tomorrow or Wednesday, I'm going to do the interview tomorrow at 10 o'clock. My friend Steve Kona III, who was on the school board, is going to come on and talk about it. I have no idea what he's going to say. I haven't asked him about what he's going to say. I just want to talk about it. He may say vote yes on different amendments, and that's fine. But we are going to have that discussion. My friend Steve, every time the Buccaneers lose, he wants to fire the coach. So that's my friend. So, but he has been, and I'll explain this again tomorrow. He's been extremely helpful. He was extremely supportive in my campaigns. Both my campaigns were failures, but he was at least supportive. We're looking forward to that. What we're going to talk about today is this. And we're seeing more and more of it. We saw the President Trump had a campaign rally in Madison Square Garden in New York, which is interesting on a lot of levels, because it's something that a lot of us have said. It's great to go to places that love you, and you can get the crowd going, and it's easy, and everybody knows the words to "Proud to be an American." As a matter of fact, as a musician, I'm basically sick of that song. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the whole. And this happened during the Tea Party movement. That all the patriotic music was all country. And this song, I've been. How many years of Lee? I mean, this Lee Greenwood song been out there? It seems like 1,000. However, I heard it on RSBN. If you don't have Right Side Broadcasting Network, go to YouTube, subscribe. It's $5. And if I can remember in the editing, I'm gonna go ahead and put a link to it somewhere up there. I'm gonna try. Good stuff. But I was listening to his singing the song at the rally in Madison Square Garden. And I'm going to tell you, I mean, Lee Greenwood's not a young dude, but he nails this tune. It's not just nails it. I was like, wow, killed it. Just killed it. I was like, wow. Oh, you have a question about the background? Oh, okay. While I was on Breitbart, and there was an advertisement for a guy who's selling, these are whiskey glasses. You can tell over there, it's whiskey glass. And it's got a real bullet in it. And it says, "I took a bullet for our democracy." That's what it said. You guys remember this, right? That's what that is behind. I don't know. YouTube may not like it. Let's see if I can move away so you can see. There you go. That's what that is. All right. In any case, this idea that MSNBC decided that they would note that there was a big Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden, and somehow Trump's rally sort of mirrored this Nazi rally, and this continuous comparison to Trump and Hitler. And you wonder why? Because in our culture, there doesn't seem to be any worse person in the world, in the history of the world, than Hitler. It's interesting though, because Hitler's real crime was that he allowed for the murder of 6 million Jews. The same 6 million Jews, the same family of Jews that are getting bombarded and killed by groups like Hamas and groups like Hezbollah. However, now the Jews now, this is interesting dichotomy they have. The Jews now are the ones that are committing genocide, right? So it would seem, follow me here, it would seem that if indeed now Israel is a bad guy in a lot of leftist minds, if Israel is a bad guy, then why y'all got a problem with Hitler? In my world, in my brain, in my 64-year-old brain, Hitler was one of the worst people who ever walked the planet. But you know who was worse? Stalin. You know who was worse? Mao. One of the members of the Barack Obama cabinet said that Mao was one of her favorite world leaders of all time. You know who's worse? Mao. Pol Pot. There's a lot of people who were as bad as Hitler was. There were people who were worse. So they're attaching this he's a Hitler to Donald Trump, and the reason they're doing that is because it's hard to get pushback, especially now. It's hard to get pushback. But I'm going to play a clip from a gentleman who was there. I don't mean just at the rally. He was there. He's a survivor of Auschwitz. 94 years old. So the directive from the tweet was to try to make this viral. I don't know if it's probably going to be viral on this channel, but I'm going to do my part. So go ahead and listen and watch this fellow right here.
My name is Jerry Wartsky. I'm 94 years old and survivor of Auschwitz and the death marches. Adolf Hitler invaded Poland when I was 9 years old. He murdered my parents and most of our family. I know more about Hitler than Kamala will ever know in 1,000 lifetimes. For her to accuse President Trump of being like Hitler is the worst thing I've ever heard in my 75 years living in the United States. I know President Trump, and he would never say this, and Kamala Harris knows this. She owes my parents and everybody else who was murdered by Hitler an apology for repeating this lie.
Why should the Jewish people support President Trump?
Because he's a mensch. I believe that President Trump is definitely going to be good for Israel, because in everything that he's done up to now was in favor. He never double-crossed anyone, and he never showed any weakness. Watching President Trump pray for the hostages at the Ohel and getting to spend time with him so meaningful. He has always stood with the Jewish people and the state of Israel.
Well, he's a mensch. I love that. He's a mensch, that's why. This gentleman is 94 years old. There won't be many left. Just like our World War II veterans, there aren't many left. So if there aren't any humans, people alive, to push back on these false narratives, then they can make these narratives whatever they want. And they will. Which is why I decided to, of all the stuff that we could have talked about today, this is what I decided to talk about. I'm going to give you I'm going to try to find another example. I'm going to show you another example of how the media is manipulating the rally on Saturday. Oh, excuse me. Was it Saturday? Or yesterday? I'm sorry. Yesterday, Sunday. And comparing it to a Nazi rally. Because if they can keep saying these words, a lot of people, and especially unfortunately young people, don't know what that is. Not too bad. Yeah. The Nazis were the socialists. The same thing that your professor says that you ought to be, that we ought to be here. Just saying. I ain't trying to fight you. I ain't got time for it. But that's just the reality of what everybody's talking about, right? So I want you to watch this clip, and then I want you to comment in the comment section about what you think. We'll be back.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally, a rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
That characterization is easily reprehensible. What could you have said? You could have said, 85 years ago, there was this Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden. And today, Madison Square Garden has been reclaimed by real Americans. Look at what's happening there. Look at the speakers on the stage. Look at the people in the crowd. A real American rally happening in Madison Square Garden, thanks to Donald Trump. But that's not what MSNBC chose to do. And there are reasons why they do that. They're doing this because, frankly, if you can stir up the people who are less stable, you can get more of this. I'm just saying, I ain't trying to fight with you. I'm just saying. I ain't trying to fight with you. Just saying. And I personally believe that that's exactly what they're trying to do. The problem is that they're failing. If you have to go to these extremes to manipulate what people are seeing, because that's what that was all about. They're manipulating what people are seeing. Because you can phrase it or you could twist it in a way to make it seem like it's something that it isn't. So you'll have the low information voters. Thank you, Rush Limbaugh, saying that Trump had a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden, and then you and I go, what? Well, if it was the worst Nazi rally ever, with Jewish people on the stage speaking to the crowd. Black people on the stage speaking to the crowd. It was the worst Nazi rally ever. It seems like, yeah, this guy here is the worst Nazi, worst fascist ever. What do you think? Put it in the comments. Me, I've already voted. Have you voted? Vote. Go ahead and vote today. If you got a few minutes, and you do, because you're watching this, go ahead and vote. Be back here tomorrow because my good friend Steve Kona is going to be on the show, and we're going to talk about some Florida things and maybe some national things. I promise I wouldn't hold him long, but we're trying to get as much in as we can. Again, we got to get out of here, make room for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.